I've helped countless clients buy and sell investment properties, and a 1031 exchange is an excellent way to defer capital gain tax if you know how to do it right. There are mistakes I have made and I've seen investors made when it comes to 1031 exchanges. So today's video is all about learning from our costly mistakes. We're going to cover the top 3 mistakes to avoid when executing a 1031 exchange. Mistake number 1 is that one of the most critical mistakes investors make is failing to adhere to the strict timeline set by the IRS for a 1031 exchange. After selling your relinquished property, investors have 45 days to identify a potential replacement property and 180 days to complete the acquisition of one or more of these properties. Missing these deadlines can disqualify the exchange, resulting in immediate tax liabilities on the tax gain from the sale. However, you will find that once you're in a 1031 exchange, that 45 days identification period comes and goes really quickly. My advice is that when you put your relinquished property on the market, that's when you start identifying. Do so before that 45-day starts, before the clock starts ticking. So start identifying as soon as you put your relinquished property on the market to allow yourself enough time to identify, because that 45 days will come by really quickly. Number 2 mistake is not using a qualified intermediary. A qualified intermediary is essential for facilitating a 1031 exchange. The QI holds the proceeds from the sale of the relinquished property and use them to acquire the replacement property on behalf of you, the investor. If you as an investor take control of that funds at any point in time, it can invalidate your tax status to qualify you for 1031 exchange and could trigger a tremendous tax liability. So engage a qualified intermediary early on. Make sure that your title and escrow company work alongside your qualified intermediary to make sure the proceeds transfer to the right account, the documentations are filed correctly and documented correctly is very important to keep you off Uncle Sam's audit. By the way, if you're curious as to what is a 1031 exchange and what are the nitty-gritty details about 1031 exchanges, I am running a monthly webinar on this topic. Click the link below to register for my webinar. Number 3 mistake is not accounting for all the fees, taxes, and escrow related costs associated in the 1031 exchange. Also, the general rule of thumb of avoiding capital gain tax is that you want to buy a replacement property equal or more in value than the property you sold, what we call relinquished property. However, in a real estate transaction, there could be a mortgage to pay off, and that mortgage needs to be replaced in your replacement property. So not accounting for fees that are ordinary to a real estate transaction, such as real estate commission, such as closing costs and transfer taxes that you need to consider, could change the math a little bit. I've seen this a lot. When someone sells their relinquished property, there is a loan that's been paid off, but that loan needs to be replaced, because if you want to avoid capital gain tax, if you sell an asset for $1 million, you need to buy an asset for at least $1 million to make sure there's no capital gain tax requirement. However, there's a lot of fees involved in that calculation, and make sure that you talk to a real estate agent who is familiar with what those fees are, and talk to escrow and title company and get those calculations in place as early as possible. If there is a loan that needs to be replaced, make sure you borrow enough money to cover for all the additional costs, so there's no additional money coming out of your pocket to complete the 1031 exchange. So remember to sign up for my upcoming webinar where I dive deeper into a 1031 exchange. Specifically, I will talk about how to double your cash flow with a 1031 exchange. Sign up at the link below and I'll see you there.